You've worked hard and you've earned the title of HR manager. But when it comes to influence, you still feel invisible. Now, you're doing all the things. You're doing compliance, you're resolving employee issues, you're hiring. But when you walk into these leadership meetings, your input is not driving decisions. Sound familiar? In this video, I'm going to give you an HR manager career growth plan that focuses on influence that lasts. So you're going to know exactly what to do to go from being an overlooked manager to a respected leader. The good news is you don't have to do everything, you have to do the right things. If you've not subscribed to the channel just yet, I invite you to hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications to not miss any videos that I drop about ways to elevate your HR career on purpose and with purpose. I get this so much because I'm an HR leadership coach myself, but I started as an unpaid intern. Today, I work in executive leadership, leading HR, leading and training and development, but I coach my clients today to learn how to add that influence to the title that you already have. I help HR managers who feel overlooked, who feel overwhelmed, who feel undervalued, learn how to break out of that, earn that credibility, earn that leadership influence so they can be successful in their roles and do the jobs they've been hired to do. One of my favorite business quotes is that leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. But before you get a chance to influence others, you first have to clarify your leadership identity. Influence starts with how you see yourself. So if you see yourself as a task doer, that's how other people are going to see you too. We can't complain about the way people see us, or the way people treat us, or what we do or don't get invited to if we're not showing up powerfully. So we've got to figure out ways to position ourselves in the workplace so that people can see the value that we bring and see us as a value add and not just a task manager on the outskirts of the business. What you want to do here is redefine the value that you bring and go from being a firefighter into being a strategist. One of the classes I teach for SHRM is the HR Department of One Special Education Program. And in that class, one of the early modules talks about, what hats do HR professionals wear? And so, surprise, surprise, one of the biggest hats people talk about is the firefighter, because we're known for putting out fires and responding to issues and playing cleanup. But if that's the only way that you see your value, you're going to continue to perpetuate that standard, that stereotype that you don't like. So get out of firefighter mode. Yes, there will always be times where we're going to have to respond to things that we can't anticipate, respond to things involving employees and health challenges and staffing issues. But that's just part of the job. Just because that's part of the job does not mean it has to be our entire identity. So go from being a firefighter and be a strategist. Learn how to think 4 steps ahead. Think forward thinking. Find ways to add value in very intentional ways that align with the business is going right now and not only where we are in this very moment. Speaking of being forward thinking is so important, it's so critical to align your work in HR with those business outcomes. Executives don't just buy into HR work because it's HR work. They buy into and they invest in things that drive business success. And you've seen this yourself as an HR manager. So when you're walking around the room or you're listening around the room to other department leaders talking about their projects and their initiatives and their goals, but your projects, initiatives, and goals seem more task based and theirs seems more aligned with the business, that's likely because it is. So you've got to find ways to make your work aligned with the business. And I've heard this feedback in a Facebook group I'm part of where they wish they could hear less of the word alignment. But again, that might be the problem. If you're not getting the influence that you want, if you don't have the credibility that you feel you need, if you're not being invited to those big conversations, it's likely because your work is not aligned. So instead of griping about the word alignment, learn ways to align your work to the business goals. Connect your HR initiatives to productivity, to retention, to profitability. And this is the work that's going to help you to build that influence and that credibility that you're seeking. As you're building this bridge between the workforce strategy and also the people strategy, this is how you build those powerful workplace relationships. Influence isn't only about what you know, it's about who trusts you. So, yes, you might understand how to bridge that gap between people strategy and business strategy. And that's very, very valuable work. But if the leaders in the company don't trust you, don't understand you, don't know you, it's going to be really difficult for you to get ahead. So, you've got to find ways to understand them, get to know them, work cross collaboratively with them to let yourself be a value add to their departments, to their leaders, and be a resource to the company overall. The goal here is to not be isolated and focusing on HR alone. Think cross collaboratively and be very intentional about building relationships outside of the HR bubble. If this is resonating with you, hit that like button and let me know. And also, if you know that you want help with all of this, I'm saying all the things you feel like you know, but you don't know how to jump over that hurdle, comment down below with the words HR career success and we can book some time, or just click the link down below in the description and we can book some time to talk with you and me one-on-one on a phone call to talk about your goals, your challenges, where you want to go next. Time in HR goes by so quickly. There are so many things that happen that we can't anticipate. So you don't want to waste time on what doesn't matter. So you really want to prioritize working on impact over activity. Doing more does not equal more influence. I think you've seen that yourself as an HR manager. You being busy at the end of the week, you being exhausted, you having migraines, you being, overwhelmed all the time, it's not resulting in you having more influence. That's why it's so important for you to know that it's important for you to choose the right things to do less of. I say this to my clients and I say this to my team all the time. Every idea is a good idea. There's always great ideas out there, but everything's not a right now idea. So you got to find ways to identify what projects have the most impact, what projects have the most visibility for your department, for yourself, for your team, and identify ways you can spend your time there and not on things that don't quite matter. Focus on projects that show your leadership and not just your administrative value. In my program, one of my clients shared her recent successes in the first module of the program about ways to lead yourself first. And she talked about how learning to not do all the things helped her to make space to work more strategically and find ways to add more value in very intentional ways. This is the work that HR leaders are doing right now, and it's working to help them get that credibility and that influence that they want. Coming full circle from that first point about knowing your leadership identity, you got to know who you are, know the value that you add. You've also got to lead yourself first. You can't expect others to see you as a leader if you don't show up with confidence and with clarity in who you are. So, again, knowing who you are, that's step one. Knowing who you are as a leader is important, but you got to show up as that yourself. Leading yourself well means starting with influencing yourself. And that influence starts with personal development, showing up on time, doing the things you say you're going to do, and giving yourself the accountability to hold yourself to a standard that even others might not. Everything you do at work, the way you handle your failures, the way you handle your successes, the way you handle your challenges dictates what people see you and dictates your narrative. And so it's really important for you to know how to lead yourself well, lead yourself first, because that's the narrative that you want to make sure that you're controlling and not others around you. Here's the truth. Building influence as an HR manager does not happen by chance. It happens when you put a clear plan together and you work those steps intentionally. And these are the same shifts that I teach inside of my HR Leadership Accelerator program, and the same shifts that I took to take myself from being just a title to true influence. If you know you want to work together with me, talk to me about ways to elevate your own HR career, click the link in the description down below or comment down below the words HR career success, and I'll send you a link to book a one-on call with me to talk about your goals, talk about your challenges, and where you want to go next in your career. It might not be a new title. You might want to have more strategic influence, more leadership credibility, or anything under the sun that's going to help you to have that influence over your career to feel like not just another title and not just another administrative assistant with a hefty name, but you want to have that true influence. This is the work that I do inside of my program. I can't wait to support you. Having influence in your HR manager role is important, but you got to know what to do with it. Watch this video next to learn what strategic HR planning looks like and how understanding it can change how you're positioned in the company. I'll see you there.